Good morning or afternoon, everyone. I'm Nicole Ammon, and I'm one of GSA SmartPay contracting officers. The training I'm going to present to you today is on the basics of the GSA SmartPay 3 master contracts. The agenda includes topics such as the contract format, period of performance, contractual requirements, the ordering process, and overall administration of the master contract and task orders. This class is intended for those who are new to the program, who want to understand more about what the contract offers, agencies or organizations, and how to oversee or monitor contractual performance. It's also suitable for those who are seeking a refresher on the contract content and task order processes. At the end of the class, I'll identify other more advanced or detailed GSA SmartPay courses presented at the forum that may interest you. First, I want to provide you with a quick overview of the program. GSA SmartPay was established 35 years ago in 1988 and has grown to be the largest government charge card and payment solutions program in the world. Agencies and organizations who use the program's payment solutions gain several benefits for their agencies or organizations and its cardholders. Those benefits include electronic access to transaction data, which helps provide a more efficient and effective way to monitor charge cards and payment solutions for misuse or fraud. Users of the card and payment solutions earn benefits for their agency in the form of dollar refunds, which I'll describe more in the presentation later. Additionally, because of the worldwide acceptance of the program's payment solutions, cardholders have access to merchants around the globe to meet their missions needs in just about any location. The program manages two indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity, also known as IDIQ contracts. This type of contract is used when the exact requirements are not known at the time of award, which permits the flexibility to order services when requirements are defined. Given that many agencies and organizations have different requirements and different delivery needs for charge card and payment solution services, this type of contract allows orders to be placed based on the unique needs of each agency or organization. The GSA SmartPay 3 Master Contract IDIQs are awarded to two different contractor banks. Task orders written from the master contracts can be issued to either U.S. Bank and Citibank North America. More than 560 federal government agencies and organizations currently obtain charge card services and products by issuing task orders to these contractor banks. I'll describe the process of ordering services in more detail later in the presentation. So several offices and businesses have a major role in keeping the GSA SmartPay program and contracts operating and running efficiently. As you may or should likely already know, GSA's Center for Charge Card Management, abbreviated as CCCM, and you may hear that throughout the presentation, manages the overall program and advocates for it within the federal government. To support the Center for Charge Card Management, the Office of Management and Budget, or OMB, provides the federal government with oversight of the program, including issuing policies and procedures that agencies and the Center for Charge Card Management use to execute the program. Agencies and organizations also use the charge card and payment solution services to advance and support their mission needs. The banks provide the charge card and payment solutions required by the master contracts. And the banks are supported by network brands, Visa and MasterCard, who help provide the transaction network for the card. In some task orders, the network brands also help the contractor banks provide data mining and oversight for the agencies and organizations. So this concludes an overview of the GSA SmartPay program and its key functions and some of the roles and responsibilities. I'll discuss now more of the basic details of the IDIQ master contracts themselves. As you may have noticed, the program refers to the two IDIQ contracts as the master contract or contracts, since there are two. The contracts are issued to two different GSA SmartPay 3 contractor banks, and the contracts are identical to each other with the exception of the pricing information and the identified points of contact for each of the banks. The contracts are set up in the Uniform Contract Format described in the Federal Acquisition Regulation, or FAR. The contract is divided into 10 sections, A through J. You can see the title of each of the sections on the slide, but not all of them are applicable to the GSA SmartPay 3 contracts. As a side note, when issuing a request for proposal, this uniform contract format will also include sections L and M, which provide instructions to the contractor banks for submission of proposals and the evaluation criteria for award of a task order to one of the banks. The section most users of the contract will read and be familiar with most often and should benefit from understanding are Section C and Section J. Section C describes the work the contractor banks are required to perform to support the GSA SmartPay 3 contracts, including mandatory and optional services. And I'll explain more about the mandatory and optional services later in the training. Section J is also important because it includes many attachments that contain data and information that are typically too lengthy or complex in format to include within Section C or the body of the actual written contract. Some of the attachments included in Section J are a list of contract deliverables, images for the design of the various cards or business lines that are offered, program acronyms and codes, and various file formats and templates. Starting on the next slide, you'll notice a contract reference in blue font at the bottom of each slide. This reference identifies the section of the GSA SmartPay 3 contract where you'll find the information or requirements that are presented on that slide. I encourage each of you to download or view a copy of the master contract from the GSA SmartPay website and familiarize yourself with its contents and layout. So now that I've described the overall format and some content of the contracts, I'll provide some basic information about the management of them. The GSA Contracting Officer for the SmartPay 3 master contracts is the only person who is authorized to make changes to the requirements of the master contracts. Donna Rankin is the primary contracting officer for GSA, supported by myself as an alternate contracting officer. In addition, there are two other contracting officers assigned to the office that assist in the administration of the master contracts when Donna or myself are out of the office. These contracting officers, including myself, also administer several of the task orders issued against the master contracts. Contracting officers who issue task orders against the master contracts, or referred to as ordering contracting officers throughout the training, are not authorized to change the scope of the contract or the period of performance beyond what is included in the currently written master contract. However, contracting officers and agencies and organizations, through their contracting officers' direction and authority, are able to tailor most of the master contract requirements to suit their agency or organization's needs. This process is discussed more detail later in the training as well. In addition to performing the basic requirements in the master contracts, the contractor banks are encouraged to identify and propose service improvements to the program that present an advantage to the government, such as in the form of cost savings or incorporation of technology improvements. If these proposed improvements are evaluated and deemed acceptable to the government, the GSA contracting officer will issue a contract modification to incorporate the accepted improvements. The GSA contracting officer also issues modifications to the master contracts for each bank to incorporate clause updates, key personnel changes within the contractor banks, and other changes to government-wide GSA SmartPay requirements, such as recent incorporation of the Section 889 requirements. The conformed master contract, which is a version of the entire contract, all the attachments, and incorporates all changes made to the contract since the initial award, along with a log of all the modifications issued, is maintained on the GSA SmartPay website. Also, when modifications are issued, they are generally mentioned in the discussions with Dave sessions that are held monthly or other government-wide charge card leadership level meetings or email correspondence to make the program users aware of the changes made to these master contracts. As identified in Section F of the master contracts, the period performance of GSA SmartPay 3 spans 13 years. The first period was the base period, which began with award in August of 2017 and continued performance through November of last year. The first of 3 different 3-year option periods was exercised by the GSA contracting officer last year to continue the performance of GSA SmartPay 3 until November of 2025. If all of the options are exercised, the GSA SmartPay 3 contracts will continue performance through November of 2031. As mentioned previously, task orders may not extend beyond the period of performance of the master contract that's identified here. Most task orders awarded are consistent with the period of performance of the master contract and include a base period and 3 option periods, but they can be different if the agency or organization wishes to shorten their task order performance period. Again, an agency or organization may not extend performance of their task order beyond the period of performance defined in the master contracts. As another important footnote, before any agency or organization's contracting officer can issue a new task order or exercise an option period they've included in their task order, the period of performance coinciding with that agency or organization's task order performance must have been exercised by the GSA contracting officer. So for example, if an agency or organization has an option period with performance past November of 2025, the agency or organization cannot exercise that option in their task order until the GSA contracting officer exercises option period 2 of the master contracts, which, as you can see, encompasses performance from November of 2025 to 2028. So like the other master contract mods, when a GSA contracting officer exercises an option via contract modification, it'll be shared on the GSA SmartPay website, and agencies and organizations may be informed through discussions with Dave, government-wide meetings, or other email correspondence. Within the performance of GSA SmartPay 3 master contracts, the banks provide charge card and payment solution services under 4 different business lines. Those business lines are purchase, travel, fleet, and integrated. The purchase business line is used by agencies and organizations to procure and pay for supplies and services up to certain dollar values and other limitations. Those limitations are discussed in more detail within other GSA SmartPay forum training sessions like GSA 006, Purchase Card Management Essentials, and defined within the master contract. The travel business line, as the name would imply, encompasses charge card and payment solution services for official travel and travel-related expenses such as airline tickets, lodging, and meals. Authorized purchases are based on agency and organization rules and regulations. The GSA SmartPay Forum Training Session, GSA 007, Travel Management Essentials, provides additional details about this business line. The fleet business line offered in the master contract provides for charge card or payment solutions for the agency or organization's vehicles or fleet, including fuel, maintenance, and repair. Again, these purchases are subject to limitations in accordance with agency or organization rules and regulations and the SmartPay 3 master contracts. You can learn more about the fleet business line in GSA's SmartPay forum session GSA 003 Fleet Management Essentials. And the final business line, integrated, is a combination of two or more of the other business lines that are either integrated in the front end, such as in account setup and maintenance, customer service, or integrated on the back end, such as reconciliation, reporting, or invoicing, or they may be integrated at both ends. This may be a single card or a single payment solution that provides charge card and payment solutions for multiple business lines. Within the business lines, the contractor banks provide products and services in two categories termed tiers. The Tier 1 requirements are the core of the contract and must be provided by both contractor banks. This tier includes the minimum government-wide requirements for charge card and payment solution services. As I'll discuss later, agencies and organizations may or may not need all of the services available within the Tier 1 requirements, but the contractor banks must be able to provide that solution or service if needed by an agency or organization. Next are the Tier 2 requirements. These are requirements that were optional for the contractor banks to propose and then perform if proposed. The awarded and priced Tier 2 requirements do vary by contractor bank. In some cases, the Tier 2 requirements were already included within the contractor bank's proposed and awarded Tier 1 product and service pricing. A summary of the offering of these two tiers are shown in the next two slides and are described in further detail in the Master Contract section B22 and B23. As stated previously, the Tier 1 products and services offered encompass the minimum requirements all agencies and organizations can receive in their order for GSA SmartPay 3 products and services. I'm not going to go through all of them, but some of the important or highly utilized products and services are 24-hour access to the contractor's electronic access system, or the EAS, and then the corresponding customer service provided to cardholders and agency personnel for that system, some ATM access, mobile applications and payment services, and then many tools used in the management of the GSA SmartPay program by agencies and organizations, as well as the Center for Charge Card Management and its role in managing the program for the federal government. Some of the program management tools include services such as data mining, fraud analytics, and reporting and record retention for agencies and organizations. As stated previously, the Tier 2 products and services vary by contractor bank, but include any of the products and services listed on the slide, such as additional data mining and authorization controls, roadside assistance, and other services beyond those that are required to be provided by both contractor banks for all government agencies and organizations to receive. These Tier 2 requirements can be awarded at the task order level as needed by agencies and organizations, and if available and offered by the contractor bank to meet the agency and organization's unique requirements. Now, after most people hear or read about what a company or product has to offer, they're curious about what it will cost. The GSA SmartPay 3 contract pricing is set up for both Tier 1 and Tier 2 products and services in various contract line items or CLINs. The pricing lists by CLIN are found in Section B of the Master Contracts. As discussed earlier, the conformed master contract is maintained on GSA's SmartPay website. However, the pricing lists for Tier 1 and Tier 2 CLINs are not shared on the site since they are contractor bank specific. So agencies and organizations can obtain the specific pricing for their contractor bank through their ordering contracting officer or GSA contracting officer. The pricing that's included in the master contracts represents the minimum or maximum price a contractor may propose in support of an agency task order. So Tier 1 CLINs are proposed by both banks, but may have different pricing or different CLINs. Most Tier 1 CLIN pricing is expressed in basis points or cents per transaction to establish the minimum refund amount agencies and organizations would receive. Some Tier 1 pricing is based on firm fixed price per an occurrence or a transaction. These types of pricing are discussed in more detail on the next slide. So some of the CLINs are considered not separately priced, meaning that the price for that particular CLIN may be found or priced within another CLIN that contains a similar product or service that is offered by the contractor or bank. Similar to Tier 1 CLINs, the Tier 2 CLINs are also set up by firm fixed price per occurrence or transaction, but the Tier 2 products and service CLINs depend on the contractor bank, as I mentioned before. But if a bank has proposed a Tier 2 CLIN price at the master contract level, if they are awarded a task order that includes the Tier 2 CLIN, that contractor bank must also have been awarded a Tier 1 CLIN product and service in the agency or organization's task order that corresponds with the business line associated with that Tier 2 CLIN. So the two types of pricing CLINs on the GSA SmartPay 3 master contracts are either refund-based or fee-based. Refund-based pricing is established to calculate the amount of refund an agency or organization receives based on their spend volume. The fixed price is expressed in basis points or a percentage or cents per transaction for purchases or transactions that generate interchange. The application of interchange, which is sometimes termed MNI or merchant negotiated interchange, is discussed in more detail in GSA SmartPay Forum Session GSA 001 Advanced Concepts in Purchase Card Management. Fee-based pricing is established for both Tier 1 and Tier 2 CLINs that do not generate interchange and are generally based on quantity type unit of measure, like number of transactions, labor hours, and number of accounts. These firm fixed prices are expressed in terms of dollars or cents per unit of measure. The main difference to remember in the refund-based versus fee-based pricing is that the fee-based pricing is established for CLINs that do not generate interchange. Another fee that is included in the GSA SmartPay 3 master contract is the GSA Contract Access Fee, or CAF. This fee was formerly called the Industrial Funding Fee, or IFF, in other GSA SmartPay contracts. This is the fee that is charged to agencies and organizations to cover the cost of GSA operating the program and administering the master contracts. The rate charged is determined by GSA each fiscal year and is expressed in basis points of the agency or organization's net charge volume. The rate will never exceed 6.5 basis points for all CLINs except for e-payables, which will not exceed 2 basis points. The established CAF rate may be lower as determined by GSA, but will never be altered by an agency or organization. For this fiscal year and in fiscal year 22, the CAF rate is 5.7 basis points of net charge volume for all CLINs except e-payables, and 2 basis points for e-payables CLINs. The contract access fee is recouped and remitted to GSA by the contractor banks from the agency or organization's earned refunds. The contractor banks send the CAF electronically on behalf of the agency or organization by the 15th calendar day of each fiscal quarter. This frequency is generally consistent with the frequency of refunds remitted to the agency or organizations. The next slide provides a very general overview of the refund calculation process. The process of calculating refunds under GSA SmartPay 3 will vary by contractor bank and task order requirements. However, one area that is consistent in all of them is that the rate must be expressed in terms of basis points and will be a single rate if the agency or organization includes refund rates for both spend volume and speed of pay. The master contract does contain a simplified set of instructions and an example for calculating the refund an agency or organization may earn based on its spend volume. This formula includes calculating the net charge volume by adding or subtracting certain spend dollars or fees and adjustments. The example in the master contract is merely an example to help estimate refunds for agencies and organizations. The Center for Charge Card Management can provide additional training or tools to help agencies with refund calculations if needed, but it is ultimately up to the agency or organization to ensure refunds are calculated in accordance with the requirements of the master contract and any task order requirements for their agency or organization. So on that note, if a contractor has been found to be incorrectly providing refunds, or the agencies or organizations may have provided improper payment to the contractor banks for purchases, the refund calculation may also include adjustments as a corrective action. Like the contract access fee, refunds are generally remitted to the agency or organization electronically by the 15th calendar day of each fiscal quarter. Agencies and organizations may determine a different frequency of remittance in their task orders. So now that you have a basic understanding of the GSA SmartPay 3 program, the products and services provided by the contractor banks through the master contracts, and the associated pricing and refunds, you should be ready to place an order. Some of the ordering procedures are outlined in the master contracts, but they do vary based on your agency or organization's procedures and policies for placing orders against GSA established IDIQs. Federal agencies and organizations, along with other non-federal entities and organizations, such as certain government contractors and tribal organizations, may place orders against the GSA SmartPay 3 master contracts if they meet eligibility as defined in the master contract. Contractor banks and ordering contracting officers must have received or verified an eligibility determination from the GSA contracting officer before establishing a task order with a contractor bank for an agency or organization. Within the master contract, there are established required minimums for issuance of task orders based on the type of task order issued. The types of task orders are discussed on the next slide. Standard task orders require a minimum of $100 of charge volume or spend over the period of performance of the task order. A tailored task order requires either a $3 million minimum if it's for purchase or travel business line, or a $300,000 minimum if the order is for the fleet business line. If the order is for integrated business lines, the total charge volume minimum is equal to the minimums defined for each of the business lines being integrated. For example, if an agency or organization wants to place an order for an integrated business line that includes travel and purchase business lines, The minimum total charge volume must be $6 million, since each line requires a minimum of $3 million to place an order. Agencies and organizations can seek assistance from GSA Center for Charge Card Management or the GSA Contracting Officer in developing their task orders, as well as with assistance in placing an order to be pooled with another agency or organization's requirements. So as mentioned previously, there are 4 types of task orders that may be placed against the GSA SmartPay 3 master contracts. They are standard, tailored, tag-along, and pool. Standard task orders incorporate all of the requirements of the master contract without tailoring. Whereas, as the name implies, a tailored task order incorporates some or all of the master contract requirements. An agency or organization may add specific requirements tailored from those existing master contract requirements. For example, of a tailored contract, an agency or organization may require more frequent remittance of the refunds than required by the master contract, as we discussed previously. In that case, the agency or organization will write a tailored requirement in their task order to define the frequency of refund remittance to their agency or organization that differs from the standard master contract requirements for refund remittance. Keep in mind that tailoring of the GSA SmartPay 3 master contract requirements must still be within the scope of the master contracts, but are generally more specific in detail. A tag-along order may be standard or tailored and is a single task order written by a lead agency or organization that includes more than one agency or organization's requirements. The requirements of each of those agencies or organizations in a tag-along order may be the same or may be slightly different than each other or the lead agency, but they must all be no less than the minimum requirements of the lead agency or organization. A pool task order is different from a tag-along task order in that it incorporates multiple agencies or organizations that have the same or different requirements, but their written order collaboratively meets the needs of all the agencies or organizations in a single task order. Again, the Center for Charge Card Management or the GSA Contracting Officer can provide assistance for agencies and organizations in determining the appropriate type of task order they need to meet their agency or organization's needs. Once the agency or organization has determined what type of task order best meets their needs and is ready to establish an initial order, a request for proposal must be issued to both GSA SmartPay 3 contractor banks to provide fair opportunity for a task order award. Some exceptions to fair opportunity may apply, but that must be considered and determined by the ordering contracting officer, their agency and organization policy, and in conjunction with the exceptions outlined in the GSA SmartPay 3 master contract. Agencies and organizations may also award separate task orders for each business line, but there are restrictions and limitations and exceptions to this policy that are outlined in the master contract. If an agency or organization develops a new requirement after their initial task order has been awarded, the agency or organization must first consider and provide fair opportunity to their awarded contractor bank to fulfill the new requirement. This is generally done through a modification to the task order or issuance of a new task order. If the awarded contractor bank is not able to fulfill the agency's new requirement, the agency or organization must provide opportunity to the other GSA SmartPay 3 contractor bank to fulfill the requirement. If neither GSA SmartPay 3 contractor bank is able to fulfill the requirement, agencies or organizations may then procure outside of the master contract in accordance with their own agency or organization's policies. Similarly, if the requirement has been determined to be outside of the scope of the GSA SmartPay 3 master contracts, agencies or organizations may award outside of the master contracts in accordance with their agency or organization's policies. If an agency or organization is unsure if the requirement is within the scope of the GSA SmartPay 3 master contract, they should contact the GSA Contracting Officer or the Center for Charge Card Management for assistance in determination. Similarly, as stated before, agencies and organizations can seek the assistance of the Center for Charge Card Management or the GSA Contracting Officer regarding task order placement and administration. So this leads us up to the discussion of some of the administration activities that will be required by agencies and organizations after issuance of their task orders. The GSA SmartPay 3 master contracts do not generally define specific contract deliverables or deliverable dates for agencies or organizations. Therefore, these contract deliverables and dates must be defined within the agency or organization's task order and are monitored by the agency or organization. The Center for Charge Card Management only manages deliverables that are required to be submitted to GSA, for which the Center for Charge Card Management supports reporting and management for the agency or organization, such as to the Office of Management and Budget, as outlined in the master contracts. For successful task order administration, ordering offices and contracting officers should follow some of these best practices. It should go without saying that first and foremost, contracting officers shall understand and follow the process to establish task orders in accordance with the Federal Acquisition Regulation, subpart 16.505. Additionally, contracting officers should develop and award their task orders in accordance with the master contract requirements and limitations and any agency or organization specific policies and procedures. As another best practice, ordering offices and contracting officers should maintain an open line of communication with their agency or organization's program coordinator, also termed an AOPC, and their contracting officer's representative, or CORE. These personnel can assist contracting officers and other members of the agency or organization in understanding the task order requirements well enough to make scope determinations or decisions if or when needed. And finally, agencies and organizations should not hesitate to seek assistance from the Center for Charge Card Management or the GSA Contracting Officer for their charge card and payment solution requirements development, contractual issues, or program questions. This concludes my training. I'd like to open up the forum lines for questions about the basics of the GSA SmartPay 3 master contracts. But first, I wanted to point out that the next slide contains contact information for the GSA SmartPay website and program support, as well as both contractor bank contract information. And then the final slide provides additional GSA SmartPay courses that may be beneficial to you that were either mentioned in this training or would provide additional information on the placement of task orders, the management of your agency or organization's programs, and then other specific areas of the business lines, purchase, travel, and fleet. With that, this concludes my presentation, and I'll open it up for questions and answers.